So I've entered lots of painting competitions and exhibition open calls over the years. Things like the Royal Society of Portrait Painters, which I've exhibited at a couple of times, the New English Art Club, again at the Mall Galleries, Scottish Portrait Awards, the Almenara collection. There's loads of these things. So today I'm going to talk about this topic. Is entering painting competitions really worth it? The other day I was scrolling and came across this painting competition that was free to enter. I knew who was running it, so I knew it was valuable, worthwhile. But the deadline was the next day. So I decided to do a quick Alla Prima painting. This is the painting. It's already dry and varnished. And so I thought I'd show that painting, talk about what I did, and talk about some of the things that I think about painting competition or competitions.
Mr. Neil Conning Painting.
As you can see, I'm just making the initial marks of this painting here. So I mentioned this painting was for a competition. So this was by Raw Umber Studios, which is, I think they're based in Bristol, which is in the south of England if you're not familiar. And they have a big image reference library. This is a competition that they've set up in order to promote that. So paint a reference from their image library, submit it for free, and they select a winner and there's a cash prize. So pretty straightforward. It's not one of the big ultra prestigious name galleries or anything like that. Just a fun little thing. So that's why I'm happy to do a little Alla Prima quick painting and see how I get on. You can't win if you don't try. So I selected an image I thought was interesting, had good shapes. This is just me trying to find those shapes. But I want to talk a little bit about art competitions in general and open calls. I think it's fair to say there's a fair number of these out there. So I want to talk about whether painting competitions are worth it. The answer is maybe, and it depends. So what are the pros and cons of entering painting competitions? The first big pro I want to get into is deadlines and how they kind of force you to be part of a network of painters. Sometimes you just need a deadline to get your own work done, to just get paintings made and out the door into the world. That's important. You got to show up. There's no point painting away in isolation. Unless, of course, that's your goal. But if your goal is to engage with the world and have your paintings engage with the world, this is a good way of doing that. Especially if, like me, you don't already have a kind of pre-made network of people. Because I didn't go to art school. Well, I suppose in some sense I did, but I didn't study painting. I think it's important to be out there doing stuff. But also other artists. Other painters see you've exhibited, or you maybe meet them there, or you might be neighbours in the show. It's a good opportunity to talk to people. I've definitely met loads of people that way. There's a big part of me that wants to be like late stage Goya, just painting away in my splendid isolation and going mad. However, on balance, I think I do actually want to be part of the world. At least at the moment. And of course there's the possibility of a big monetary reward or a sale. Now I have to say, I've never actually won one of the big awards where you get a kind of decent amount of money. But I have sold paintings through these shows. I most recently sold that painting of the bather at the Mall Galleries. Now they take a pretty decent cut, but I was able to charge much more, so I was still pretty happy. So stuff like that's good. But there are big downsides. The subjectivity of judging. This could be really tough. It can be really demoralizing to submit paintings, to submit work to open calls and have it rejected again and again. Especially when you see things get accepted that are maybe not bad, but you think that you're equivalent to. It can be really tough, and talk to people about it and you can see them struggling with it, getting frustrated, angry, disappointed, annoyed at themselves, annoyed at the institutions. But the reality is, you just have to go with it. It's not even really about quality. It's just about what fits the show. And so you just have to accept that that bit's out of your control. You can only do what you can do. So for me, this bit is tough, but I think just submit and try move on. Another one is a kind of pressure to conform. You know, if I'm submitting every year to the Royal Society of Portrait Painters, and at the same time to trying to develop my own language of painting, it's hard not to sometimes think, well, what is it they want? Like, if I look at what's been successful, what do they want? Maybe I'll make it more like that. Actually, that's not a good way to think either, because if you speak to them, and I have, they often talk about how they want to diversify and change. The best thing to do is just to be true to yourself and try not give people what they want too much. You can learn from what goes in, but try just be true to your own language, discover your own way, because you'll probably be better at that than try to be some other way. Another big one is the entry fees and costs associated with these open calls. So for example, if I'm submitting to a mall gallery's open call, like the RP or New English Art Club or something like that, first of all, I submit digital images online. That might cost £20 or something per entry. That's the first round, so it might just get rejected outright and then I'm in disappointment world. Or it gets accepted into the next round, which I have to send the painting down, all framed up and all the courier costs, which can get quite expensive. There are companies that make it slightly cheaper, but it's still pretty pricey. And then it gets accepted. If it gets accepted, great. If it doesn't, you have to go through the indignity of trying to work out how to get it couriered back up at even more cost with no gain whatsoever. And so that can be really difficult. There's absolutely no guarantee in return on investment. And another one is, you know, if I get accepted, I used to always go down to the shows, but a train ticket's like £200, so actually you end up losing money just by going to the show. So it's not a great state of affairs in terms of financial gain. I don't think that's a good reason to do these things. I think you have to accept that you'll probably end up down on money from these shows more than up on it. However, I was talking to somebody at one of these openings, nice guy called Curtis Holder. You might have heard of him. He's quite well known these days. He's a brilliant artist. He had a pretty strong growth in his career within a few years. And his advice to me on that was, hey look Neil, just apply to everything. Apply to everything. And I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So I started to, but I did start to realise that some of these things are not worth it. I think on balance, the pros and cons that I've outlined here, I think it's still worth it for these more prestigious galleries. I think that is worth it for me. As long as I'm not putting myself into actual financial ruin. If you accept that you're probably just paying for the opportunity, which isn't great, but I still think it's worth it for the potential outcome. However, there are other ones that I think are not worth it. I'm not going to name them by name, but these are the kind of middle range, still quite expensive. I'd say do all the free ones, do some of the prestigious ones, and stay away from the ones that just feel like you're not going to get very much out of it. So I actually didn't end up talking much about the painting, but I mean, what would I say really? There's always stuff to say. But maybe you enjoyed watching it and got a wee bit out of it. I enjoyed making it, and I think there's a lot of it is quite successful. I wish those final bits, those final strokes that you were just looking at, where I introduced that blue, I wish they were higher chroma. They're a wee bit dull. At the time when I was doing it, I thought they were these nice big flashes of high chroma, like blue, like turquoise. But actually, looking at it now and looking at the painting, they're actually a grey. They felt higher chroma, I think, because of the red, but when you actually read it, when I step back and look, actually they're pretty grey. It would have been better if they were straight out the tube. So I regret that. But hey, look, this is why we do Alla Prima painting. You get to train yourself to make these better decisions at the time. That's another reason why I really like doing these videos, you know. I kind of look back and do a kind of post-mortem report on the painting.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean, as usual, if you're interested in the painting, I'm going to make it available on the website, but not quite yet, because I'm just going to wait and see what happens with the competition. So if you are also interested to see what happens, then, you know, stick around and I'll let you know. I'll give an update at some point. Thanks for watching.